Hello, and welcome to the Tech Relaunch webinar for single-family HVAC and heat pump water heater incentives. This webinar will be recorded and hosted on our Tech Clean California YouTube channel. Let's take a look at today's agenda. First, we'll start off with some requirements for HVAC and heat pump water heater programs. From there, we'll head into some more equipment-specific requirements, specifically starting with single-family heat pump HVAC incentives and requirements, with a short period for some Q&A. From there, we'll head into single-family heat pump water heater incentives and requirements, with a subsequent Q&A section as well. In our webinar presentation today, we'll highlight key updates, eligibility requirements, and new procedures for participating. If you haven't already, be sure to read our full single-family heat pump HVAC launch and heat pump water heater launch knowledge base articles for complete program rules. Let's take a look at requirements for both heat pump HVAC and heat pump water heater. We'll begin this part of the presentation with participation requirements. The Tech Clean California HVAC program is open for contractors to enroll that carry either a General B license, C20, and/or a C36 contractor license. If you're new to the program, you must complete enrollment and training requirements. And to begin, you'll start off at the Switches On website, switcheson.org, where you can submit an enrollment application and join their site listing of contractors for your customers to locate your information. For contractors resuming their participation from the most recent program, there is no additional task for you to complete to continue your enrollment. However, to ensure you understand any program changes, be sure you please review any and all updated program rules in our contractor knowledge base articles. Regarding project eligibility, we first want to begin by sharing an update to the definition of what constitutes a single-family project. Single-family projects are only those that are for individual single-family residences, including a residential property with a maximum of one dwelling unit, an accessory dwelling unit or an ADU, or an individually owned mobile or manufactured home that is on a foundation and does not have an axle or license plate. Please note that the previous definition of projects that include 1 to 4 dwelling units no longer applies. This updated definition specifically applies to projects sold on or after July 15th, 2025. Next, let's take a look at eligible project types and dates. Eligible projects are only those that are replacing a non-heat pump system with a heat pump and must be initiated on or after July 15th. This also means that the submitted terms and conditions document must also be signed on or after July 15th. If the project is initiated or invoiced before July 15th, it will not qualify. Looking closer at the T's and C's, we want to highlight that there's a new updated version for the Tech Clean California Customer Terms and Conditions document. These updates include changes to the time of use rate enrollment agreement and the addition of a tenant protections notice. You must use this new version of the Tech Customer Terms and Conditions, which will be available starting July 15th. If you have a previous copy of the document saved, downloaded, or bookmarked, be sure to replace it with the newest version as soon as it's available for download, which it is right now. We can't accept previous versions of the Terms and Conditions document for new project submissions, nor can we accept the terms and conditions uploads with missing pages and/or sections. You can find previous and now outdated versions of the terms and conditions document in the knowledge base article entitled Customer Terms and Conditions and Invoice Requirements. Let's take a look at how to fill out the T's and C's to ensure that you and your customers know what boxes to fill out. So first, taking a look at Section 1, customers must attest to enroll in an eligible demand response program. Since this is a requirement for all project types, every customer must check this box and complete this section. Next, Section 2 is only required for customers getting a new heat pump water heater. We'll point out 3 main things in Section 2. So first, customers will have to check a box to affirm that they will enroll in a water heater rewards program if available. Next, in this checkbox, customers must also agree to enroll in a time of use rate. And finally, Section Section 2 also requires that the account holder's electric account number is entered if they're an electric customer of PG&E, SCE, SDG&E, or SMUD. The appendix of the Customer Terms and Conditions and Invoice Requirements article has more information about how to find this number. Next, taking a look at Section 3, this also applies to all customers. In this section, the customers check the applicable box or boxes to indicate which tech incentives they're applying for. And below that, there's an additional box that all customers must check here as well. Here, customers must confirm that they consent to the release of personally identifiable information to you, the contractor, for rebate processing. Lastly, we have Appendix A. Filling out Appendix A is only required for projects that are located at a tenant-occupied unit. Here, the tenant and property owner must sign the tenant protection notice. We'll cover what this is in a bit more detail on the next slide. Tenant protections are now required for tenant-occupied units. Property owners will be required to execute a tenant protection agreement, also known as a TPA, which includes caps on rent increases and protection against evictions based on building retrofits. TPAs will be sent to owners via email for signature directly by tech team after the reservation request is submitted in IRIS. Reservations will not be approved and installations may not take place until the TPA has been fully executed. In addition to the TPA, a tenant notice will be sent to all tenants. The notice describes TechClean California and its incentives, building electrification, and explains the property owner or manager cannot evict or raise rents based on the property's participation in the program. Tenants and building owners will be required to sign the notice as part of the customer terms and conditions, and tenant will receive the notice via email. For additional support, please see our article, Tenant Protection Requirements, which will be published on our knowledge base. Next, we'll transition to some key incentive requirements to keep in mind when participating in the TechClean California program. So first, there is a maximum of 2 units per dwelling for all project types. Next, contractors are required to pass 100% of the incentive to the customer. That can happen in one of 2 ways, either as an instant discount at the point of sale, or as a delayed pass-through after the incentive funds have been received. There's also the opportunity to stack other rebates or incentives with the tech program, which can provide even greater savings to your customers. If you're looking for additional programs to combine with tech incentives, a great resource is the Incentive Finder tool at incentives.switcheson.org/contractors. And finally, one important note. HERA Phase 1 rebates cannot be combined with TechClean California incentives, so be sure to check for compatibility before stacking programs. From here, we want to take a moment to look at equity incentives and the income verification process. We'll showcase the incentive amounts in the respective equipment sections, but we want to focus on one commonality now. Air source heat pumps and heat pump water heaters both have higher equity incentive opportunities for customers. The equity incentive is available for residents who verify their income to show that the household income is either of the following, whichever is less stringent: at or below 80% of the area's median income, or at or below 250% of the federal poverty level. Customers' income must be verified using the Tech Equity Incentives Verification Portal, tech-incomeportal.com, or, in some limited cases, verified through their approved HERA Phase 1 income application or another approved technology program. At the Tech Equity Incentives Verification Portal website, customers can test if they may qualify by entering in their county and household size to see their personalized household income limit. For approved income verification applications, a PDF of the verification will be sent to the customer and contractor and must be uploaded into the reservation in IRIS in order to obtain the additional adder incentive. Contractors are required to submit reservation requests, also called pre-approvals, in the IRIS system for every single project. This step is essential to secure funding and confirm the project's eligibility. HVAC contractors will be familiar with this process, but it's new for heat pump water heater and air to water heat pumps, so we wanted to make sure that everyone has the full details. Reservation requests should be submitted as soon as the customer has signed the program terms and conditions. For projects qualifying for equity incentives, approved income verification is also required at the time of submission. Once the program team approves the reservation request, funding is reserved for that project. After approval, the reservation must be converted into a claim and submitted for processing and payment within 120 days. If the claim isn't submitted within that time frame, the pre-approval could be rejected and the reserved funds may expire, unless an exception is requested and approved at least 15 days ahead of time. Finally, it's important to complete all required fields on the pre-approval accurately because this information transfers directly to the claim and will be locked from editing. So it's very important to double check that all the information is correct before pressing submit. These are listed on the step-by-step claim submission article, but includes customer name, electricity provider, assigned T&Cs, and for equity projects, proof of income verification. One final note for all project types. When customers install a new electric appliance, especially after fuel switching that may increase their electricity usage, it's a great time to help them consider if a different electric rate plan could save them money. Customers served by PG&E, SCE, or SDG&E may be eligible for bill savings just by informing their utility about their new electric appliance. At the program launch, the customer-facing time of use rates page on the Switches On has included new updates, helpful information, and direct links to utility rate comparison tools. Be sure to check out the FAQs, especially the section titled, "What else can I do to help lower my electricity bill?" This is a good opportunity to talk to your customers about rate options and direct them to this resource so they can take full advantage of potential savings. All right, let's take a look at single-family HVAC incentives. To start things off for heat pump HVAC systems, we'll look at qualifying equipment, specifically air source heat pumps. Newly installed heat pump systems must meet the following requirements at the time of pre-approval submission. The entire heat pump system configuration must be ENERGY STAR listed, and the heat pump system must either be two-stage or have continuously variable capacity. Heat pump installations alongside a new furnace will not qualify. There's an important new rule for heat pump installations that you need to follow when you're submitting your pre-approval in IRIS. The key change here is that you are required to enter the ENERGY STAR ID in the Source ID section within IRIS. We are no longer using the AHRI number. If you enter the AHRI number, your claim will be flagged and you'll be asked to update it with the ENERGY STAR ID. And to verify the identity or check the eligibility of HVAC equipment, you can use the Switches On product finder and specifically the heat pumps page. And when using the tool, make sure to apply the Tech Clean California filter and look for the Tech Clean California badge that's shown on the screen right now. Eligible equipment configurations will display both the ENERGY STAR ID and the HRI number. If a piece of equipment has recently been removed from the ENERGY STAR list, you'll see a note indicating the removal date. Additionally, the resources listed in this presentation are the only official resources for HVAC and air-to-water heat pumps, which is going to be shared on the next slide for product eligibility verification. Always double-check recommendations received from third parties, including from distributors and manufacturers. And as a reminder, you can contact the program team at tech.contractor@energy-solution.com for direct verification as needed. Importantly, failure to install qualifying equipment after offering a tech incentive to your customer will result in the rejection of your incentive claim and may result in corrective action, including formal warnings or your removal from the tech program. Now we'll discuss information for qualifying equipment for air-to-water heat pumps. Air-to-water heat pump systems must meet a few specific performance requirements in order to qualify. First, the system must use a refrigerant to water or a water glycol heat exchange. The unit must be able to provide space heating. It also needs to achieve a heating coefficient of performance, or a COP, of 1.7 or greater at full load capacity at an outdoor dry bulb temperature of 5 degrees Fahrenheit. And finally, the system must be able to deliver a leaving water temperature of at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit. To verify whether a product meets these criteria, you can refer to the qualifying products list, which is available in the Heat Pump HVAC Single-Family Knowledge Base article. The total HVAC budget for this program cycle is $20 million, split evenly between two categories. $10 million is allocated for market rate projects, which include air source HVAC systems and air-to-water heat pumps. And another $10 million is reserved for equity qualified projects, which apply only for air source HVAC systems. If the equity budget is reserved before the market rate funds are used up, equity qualified customers can still access any remaining market rate funds. This funding is available statewide with no geographic restrictions. As always, incentive funds are distributed on a first-come, first-served basis, so it's important to complete and submit reservation requests in early. And to check how much budget is left, use the Tech Public Reporting site incentives page. If you need help reading the budget table, we also have a guide called How to Navigate the Tech Budget Table on our knowledge base. And as a very important reminder, do not promise incentives to customers until your reservation request has been officially approved. The tech team will generally send notices when funds are running low. Fund is not set aside until the reservation request is approved, and initiating any project prior to the approval of your reservation request creates a financial risk for you and your customer. Let's take a look at the heat pump HVAC incentives available through the Tech Clean California initiative. Incentives start at $1,500 per unit and can go up to $4,000 per unit, depending on a number of factors. The first thing contractors need to consider when determining the incentive amount is the tenant's income. This is important because customers who meet those certain income requirements may be eligible for the higher equity level incentive amounts. After looking at specific income qualifications, the next step is to review the home's existing HVAC system. Specifically, you'll want to confirm whether the customer had previous air conditioning and whether the existing heating system will be fully decommissioned. And as a side note, decommissioned is defined as being completely removed from operations. Both of these factors play a role in calculating the final incentive amount, as we show here on screen. Now, let's take a look at air-to-water heat pump incentives, which range from $3,500 to $5,000. Standard equipment earns $3,500 and projects installing qualifying equipment with a low global warming potential refrigerant or a low GWP refrigerant, which is indicated at being below 150, are eligible for $5,000 in incentives. Air-to-water heat pump projects are all considered market rate, and they use the same $10 million budget as market rate air source projects. And as mentioned earlier, you can find the QPL for air-to-water heat pumps on the Heat Pump HVAC single-family article on our knowledge base. To help get your claims processed as quickly as possible, it's important to review these knowledge base articles before submitting new claims. Proper preparation reduces pre-approval rejections and claim corrections. Also, when you receive correction requests, address them promptly. This keeps your projects moving smoothly and benefits both you and your customers. If you have questions, rather than leave a note in IRIS, which processes are not notified of, please email tech.incentives@energy-solution.com. Here are the knowledge base articles for a quick claim processing. Single family application step by step. This guides you through every step from reservation to claim submission, including Excel files with all the required fields to complete your claim correctly the first time. Single family claim reservation rules. This details all the requirements and processes for reservation requests to avoid those delays. IRIS claim statuses and flags. This helps you understand claim statuses and flags that you'll see in the IRIS system. Claim corrections and rejections. This explains how to respond to corrections and avoid those common mistakes that can slow down your approval. And as a note, the following rules and processes remain unchanged. Required documentation, testing, and photos. Eligibility for air source and air-to-water heat pump equipment. Project eligibility and replacement scenarios. Demand response enrollment. The reservation duration limit, which again is 120 days. And contractor training and enrollment requirements. And for a full list of heat pump HVAC program rules, please review the heat pump HVAC incentives single-family article, which we have on our knowledge base. Lastly, we continue to accept resubmissions of Stage 2 tech reservation requests that were previously rejected due to insufficient funding. This applies to requests with an original submission date of January 17th or earlier, as we shared on April 21st. If you had a reservation request rejected for funding reasons before that date, you can go ahead and resubmit now. That concludes the HVAC portion of our presentation, and we'll pause here for some Q&A. Next, we'll transition to discussing water heater incentives. Incentives are available for homeowners replacing existing gas or electric water heaters with qualified heat pump units. Single-family projects include installations in single-family residences only. This webinar portion will outline key updates, eligibility requirements, and new procedures for participating contractors. For single-family heat pump water heaters, the total budget is $10 million, with $5 million for market rate projects and $5 million for equity qualified projects. Remember to track the available incentive budget at the Tech Public Reporting Incentives website, and please stay up to date on the Tech budget as remaining funding can change quickly. Incentive dollars are allocated on a first-come, first-served basis and only to projects with approved reservation requests. If the equity budget is fully reserved, equity qualified customers will be allowed to access the remaining market rate funds. Market rate and equity incentives will be available from $1,100 to $5,700. For market rate incentives, the NorCal base incentive is unchanged at $1,100, and the SoCal base incentive level is decreasing from $3,100 to $2,100. Equity incentives are returning and start at $3,500. The electrical upgrade incentive is no longer available, but the tank size and low GWP refrigerant kickers remain unchanged as we show on this slide. And as a reminder, contractors are required to pass that full incentive amount to the customer, and there's a maximum of 2 incentivized units per household. As mentioned on the last slide, the market rate incentive amount the customer receives is still determined by whether they receive their electricity from a Northern California, PG&E Electric, and publicly owned utilities that are above PG&E and SCE territory line, or Southern California, which is the SCE and SDG&E Electric, and publicly owned utilities below the PG&E and SCE territory line. Contractors, remember to view the breakdown of utilities by NorCal and SoCal on the Tech Clean California Contractor Knowledge Base article, Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives, Single Family. Installation and equipment requirements. There are no changes to the time of use setup rule. All heat pump water heaters must be configured by the contractor during the installation to shift electricity usage or load out of the evening peak hours and into the daytime off those peak hours instead. The contractor will use the manufacturer app or help the customer use their version of the app to set the heat pump water heater to follow time of use rate. Remember, installers must capture a screenshot or photo of the app which shows that the TOU rate setup was successful, and this photo must be uploaded to the incentive claim form. Instructions can be found in our TOU Setup Info for Heat Pump Water Heaters article. And contractors that install REAM units need to be aware that there's a temporary bug that means the customer EcoNet app is no longer able to display the required confirmation of TOU setup. This is an issue that we sent an email about in May, and we want to make sure everyone is aware as you prepare to do new installations. Please be sure to review the message about this in the knowledge base article, under the screenshot examples, or in the REAM specific section to make sure your installers capture the proper image during setup. A set point reminder, please note that there is no required set point for tech heat pump water heater installations. Set point should be a decision between the contractor and the customer, guided by site specifics and manufacturer recommendations. Next, let's take a look at qualifying equipment. California Energy Commission, or CEC J13 compliant at either NEA with flex load connectivity or HRI 1430 is required. All qualifying heat pump water heater units can be found on the Tech Heat Pump Water Heater Qualifying Products list. And fans of low GWP equipment will be glad to learn that the Senko 2 units have been added to the list. You can find the QPL on the Heat Pump Water Heater Single Family Knowledge Base article. Time of use, demand response, and water heater reward enrollments. Where available, Tech Heat Pump Water Heater customers will need to enroll in each of the following. First, a demand response program. We have a list of qualifying programs at the demand response website found on the landing page that's linked on this slide. Second, a water heater rewards program. And finally, a time of use electric rate plan. Each of these requirements contributes to reducing difficult demand peaks on California's electric grid, so Tech Clean California heat pump water heater customers can help make California's electricity cleaner, more reliable, and more affordable for everyone. We encourage you to take a look at the new landing page about the 3 heat pump water heater customer enrollment requirements, which includes this helpful graphic. It also provides short descriptions of each enrollment requirement to help explain the what and the why, and the links to the full customer-facing pages about each requirement. Those pages are helpful for customers who want to really understand the ins and outs and review FAQs, and contractors should familiarize themselves as well. Again, these enrollments are required where available. This table describes which of the requirements apply based on the customer's electricity provider. This would be a great table to take a screenshot of right now if you want. You can also revisit this table in the recording of this session that will be available after this webinar, and it's also available on our knowledge base on the Single Family Heat Pump Water Heater Incentives article. That same article also has a section that now compiles all of our additional resources about demand response, water heater rewards, and TOU requirements. For example, customer flyers, customer websites, and visuals for contractors. We understand that it takes expertise to understand the demand response, time of use, and water heater rewards requirements to customers. That's why we provide resources for you and resources you can share with customers. We continue to make updates based on your feedback, so keep sharing your questions and suggestions coming. Speaking of understanding requirements by utility provider and visual resources, be sure to check out the demand response, time of use, and water heater rewards requirements visual that's linked from the Single Family Heat Pump Water Heater Project Checklist and Requirements Visual Knowledge Base article. This visual is a guide to the various enrollment and scheduling requirements for a heat pump water heater project based on who the customer's electricity provider is, as indicated by the 4 columns. It illustrates the order in which these requirements should happen and clarifies the roles of the customer and the contractor. Step 7 also describes how to correctly answer incentive claim form questions about demand response, TEU schedules, and water heater rewards. Now, we'll go a little more into depth about each enrollment requirement with some key rule changes and reminders. First, demand response. Demand response program enrollment is required for all single-family heat pump water heater and heat pump HVAC customers with a qualifying demand response program available to them. Further information is available at the Demand Response Requirements Knowledge Base article. Some key reminders. REAM customers should not be linking their EcoNet account to OhmConnect. They will need to link their EcoNet account to the Water Heater Rewards program, and if it's already linked to OhmConnect, they will need to disconnect first. The demand response enrollment requirement is different from the water heater rewards program enrollment requirement. Demand response programs typically do not control the operation of water heating and instead help customers to optimize other various electricity usage in a household. All single-family heat pump water heater customers must apply to a qualifying water heater rewards program if one is available to them. Programs are available for customers of PG&E, SCE, and most customers of SDG&E. There is now a new water heater rewards program, Smart Home Flex, available to all customers of San Diego Community Power. Enrollment is now required for all Community Power customers. Community Power customers are also SDG&E customers. And to verify if someone is a Community Power customer, look below at the Summary of Current Charges section on page 1 of their SDG&E bill for a statement about San Diego Community Power. The Water Heater Rewards Enrollment Requirement article reflects this update and provides additional instructions. PG&E customers still need to apply to Water Saver, and SCE customers still need to apply to Smart Shift Rewards. Some key things to remember when helping your customer enroll in a water heater rewards program are: customers must apply after the new heat pump water heater is installed. Customers must fill out the application. Contractors cannot do this on their behalf. The language used to submit the application is the language the program will use to communicate with the customer. And finally, the name of the person applying to the water heater rewards program must match the person who is the utility account holder. If you have any questions on the Tech Water Heater Rewards requirement or understanding the difference between demand response programs and water heater rewards programs, please contact Tech. If you have any questions about on-site troubleshooting when trying to enroll a customer in a water heater rewards program, please contact the Water Heater Rewards program shown on screen. TOU rate enrollment is still required for all single-family heat pump water heater customers with a TOU rate plan available to them. We have some great news to share. This requirement is now significantly simplified. Starting with the 7/15/2025 launch, customers will simply agree on the T's and C's to enroll in a TOU rate if they are not already on one. We will no longer be facilitating their enrollment on the back end with the utilities and will not need to confirm TOU rate enrollment prior to incentive payment. This means that application processing will be simpler and quicker. No more pre-processing and no more rejections of eligible projects at the claim stage. Rejections will now only happen at the pre-approval stage. Additional details can be found at Time of Use Customer Enrollment Requirement Knowledge Base article. It's important to note, though, that the customer won't be able to complete their water heater rewards program enrollment until they enroll on a time of use rate. They will be able to submit their application, but they will need to be on a TOU rate before their enrollment can be completed. So please help your customers understand this if they're not already on a time of use rate. As a reminder, here are the roles of the customer and contractor for each of the 3 enrollment requirements and for the TOU rate schedule setup. It's important for you, the contractor, to understand your role with regards to these requirements. There's also a contractor knowledge base article with more information on each of these 4 bullets as shown on this slide. If you have questions after reviewing the resources, please reach out to tech.contractor@energy-solution.com. For all the enrollment requirements, time of use, demand response, and water heater rewards, the customer will specifically agree to the requirements by checking the boxes on the Tech Customer Program Terms and Conditions, which they will need to sign. The terms and conditions contains links and QR codes to customer-facing pages about TOU, demand response, and water heater rewards programs. Contractors will need to confirm that all the necessary boxes on the T's and C's are checked and that there are no missing signatures or information, or else the reservation request will be rejected. For the customer time of use rate enrollment, the customer must enroll themselves on a time of use rate. Many Californians are already on one, especially those who already have solar or an electric vehicle. For the demand response program enrollment, the customer must enroll themselves on a time of use rate. Customers will likely be unfamiliar with the concept of demand response, and as a participating contractor, you should familiarize yourself with the benefits of demand response and the programs available to customers within your service area. Contractors will likely want to recommend one or two programs that will likely be best for the customer based on their location and priorities, and send the customer a direct enrollment link. Contractors will need to collect an image that provides demand response enrollment to upload to the incentive claim form. And finally, for the water heater rewards program enrollment. Similarly to the demand response enrollment, the customer must actively sign up, and the contractor should be prepared to answer questions and walk the customer through the enrollment process. Contractors do not need to upload verification of enrollment to the claim form, but contractors are still expected to help the customer enroll. The online application form only takes a few minutes to fill out, and for Bream customers, there's an even easier way to sign up via their EcoNet app. It's perfect timing for the contractor to help the customer apply right after the installation, since the application form asks for the same information the contractor has just collected for the tech claim form. For example, customer utility account info, heat pump water heater make, model, and serial number. Reservation and claim submissions. How do you ensure that your claim gets approved as fast as possible? Ensure the terms and conditions are completely filled out, signed, and dated and match IRS. Provide correct customer account number. Provide clear photos. Include correct Tech Clean California incentive in the customer invoice. Ensure the correct model and serial number are selected. Ensure addresses are all correct, spelled correctly, and match. And ensure that the customer in IRS is the customer on the invoice. Pay close attention to the details you provide and that they match the uploaded documents. Again, before you start creating new claims, please review the following knowledge base articles to reduce pre-approval rejections and claim corrections. It's of critical importance that contractors address correction requests in a timely manner to help your customers and/or your cash flow. Single-family claim reservation rules. This article will have details about the reservation request requirements and process. Single-family application step-by-step. This will showcase the steps from reservation to claim submission, including an Excel document with all fields. IRS claim statuses and flags. This is a guide to the flags and statuses that you'll see on your claims in IRS. And finally, claim corrections and rejections. This shows how to address corrections and common mistakes to avoid. If the program team has authorized the resubmission of a tech heat pump water heater claim from the previous cycle, you will need to make some slight adjustments to your resubmission to accommodate recent changes in the IRS portal. See the older tech heat pump water heater claim deadlines and submission instructions. As a reminder, there are critical deadlines for these older projects, including the August 31st, 2025 for final submissions. See the article linked directly above for more information. That concludes the presentation portion of this webinar, and now we'll transition to more additional Q&A.